keep love tightly bound, corrupted by fear, unwilling to hear, denying the beauty we found. We are answering the call of love and join together as hearts beat as one, emboldened by faith. We dare to proclaim we are answering the call of love. A bright new day is dawning, when love will not divide, reflections of grace in every embrace, fulfilling the vision divine. We are answering the call of love and join together as hearts beat as one, emboldened by faith. We dare to proclaim we are answering the call of love. We are answering the call of love. I got one more for you if you want to sing along. It's number 299 in your gray hymnal. Make channels for the streams of love where they may broadly run, and love has overflowing streams to fill them everyone. But if at any time we seize such channels to provide, the very fountains of love for us will soon be parched and dried. For we must share if we would keep this gift all else above. We cease to give, we cease to have, such is the law of love. Welcome in.
As we begin today, I invite you to settle into this time and this gathering. If you are with us on Zoom, maybe that means you put a cozy blanket around yourself or put the kettle on. Wherever you are, maybe that means you take a few smooth breaths or unclench your jaw or do whatever it is you need to do to get your body 10% more comfortable in this time and in this space. Let us set aside those to-do lists that I'm sure are waiting for us. We can pick them up in the afternoon. And let us just be here in our gathered community, bound together by shared values and principles and commitments, not shared belief. So come, let us gather. Come, let us worship together.
Good morning. I'm Donna McClurkin, and I'm here as a representative of the Sunday Services Committee, and I'd like to welcome you all to this service. Those of you here in person, on Zoom, and watching later on YouTube. A special welcome is extended to visitors and newcomers here in the Commons and virtually. Welcome to this place, a place to learn from and with each other, here and all the places we are together, what it means to be Unitarian Universalists. We are so glad you're here.
And I have a couple announcements as we begin. Today, our Inquirers series continues after the service. That's our class for newcomers or anyone else who wants to learn more about People's Church. This week, we are focusing on Unitarian Universalist history, principles, and sources, which is also what we're focusing on in the service. So if you want to go deeper with a small group, please stay. That's in room 19 around 12:30. That's the big room at the top of the stairs. There will be childcare and a light lunch for you. And exactly 1 week from today, almost to the minute, the church auction closes. So there are a number of amazing items up for bid, including many that just got put up this week. So I encourage you, if you're here in person after the service, to take a wander down the hallway on the side of the Commons and write your name down for a few treasures. Or if you're joining us in person or online, everything's available from our church website. There's so many opportunities for learning and gathering, from pottery lessons to billiard lessons to an Ethiopian dinner and a mandala class and a Southern dinner, a night of humor. And I could keep going, but I'm not going to. But please go and find something fun and joyful to bring into your life. And before we get any further in the service, I want to take a moment for us all to greet each other across the ways we're gathering. So if you are with us on Zoom, I'm going to invite you, if you want to turn on your camera. And if you are with us in the Commons, we're going to do, so Commons people, go look at the cameras back there and offer a wave or a greeting, or, they can't really hear you, but they can see you. And now our people who are with us on Zoom can you offer a wave? Because we can't really do this simultaneously very well. So there's our Zooming friends. I'm so glad everybody is with us today. And now we're going to sing.
I invite you to rise and body your spirit to sing our first song together. There's a seed of hope in my soul, a little seed of hope in my soul. I'm gonna tend it every day so that it grows strong. All this I pray, then that seed of hope soon will bloom in my soul. There's a seed of joy in my soul, a little seed of joy in my soul. Gonna tend it every day so that it grows strong. All this I pray, then that seed of joy soon will bloom in my soul. You can move too if you want. There's a seed of peace in my soul, a little seed of peace in my soul. I'm gonna tend it every day so that it grows strong. All this I pray, then that seed of peace soon will bloom in my soul. One last time, seed of love. There's a seed of love in my soul, a little seed of love in my soul. I'm gonna tend it every day so that it grows strong. All this I pray, then that seed of love soon will bloom
I'd like to invite DeForest Lonberg up to light our chalice. And a reminder, if you're lighting a chalice at home, you're encouraged to type in the chat box, "A chalice is lit," and include your neighborhood, city, street, or whatever. Our words for our chalice lighting are "As We Await a New World" by Melissa Jeter. We light this chalice today to illuminate our way toward love. Inside the womb of this waiting time, we are bathed in sounds, floating in love, growing out of our comfort zone. We experience love, sorrow, pain, and joy. There is a numinous quickening as we await a new world yet unborn.
In addition to our chalice lit here at People's Church, we have chalices lit this morning on Thrasher Lane, in Parkview Hills, and in Portage. Now I would like to invite our children forward to help me give a challenge to our adults. We're gonna see what they know today. Hi, cuties. Hi. Do you want to light it sometime? You can light it sometime. I'll talk with your grown-ups, okay? We'll figure it out. Okay, so what we're going to do is give our grown-ups a pop quiz on the principles and sources of Unitarian Universalism. But the thing is, grown-ups, you all already have an A, okay? If any of you have test anxiety, this is not, we'll work through some of that trauma. You guys are all passing with flying colors, regardless of what happens, okay? We're just trying to see what we know. So I need a few kids to hold some numbers. Okay, here we go. Let's get in a line. Starting here, we need 7 kids for this first one. 1. Okay, just stand in a line this way. Wait. Okay, you got number 1. Number 2. Hold it up big so people can see, okay? You're gonna do number 3? Oh, yeah. Number 4. Oh, number 5. That was a tricky one to hold on to. Number 6. Oh, how perfect that you're 6. And number 7. Okay. Grown-ups. Who can name one of the 7 principles of Unitarian Universalism this morning? Okay. I see some hands way in the back. Yell something out. Inherent worth and dignity. That's number 1. Yay! You can keep standing or you can sit down. Okay. Oh, I hear democratic process. That is, which one is that? Number 5, the right of conscience and the use of the democratic process within our congregations and in society at large. Can I have number 5? Respect for the interdependent web of all existence of which we are a part. That's number 7. Thank you, Catherine. What else do we have? Oh, Gordon. The search for truth. Yes. Acceptance of one another and this one. Number 4. A free and responsible search for truth and meaning. Number 4. Gracie, can I have number 4 back? Okay. Any others that people know? Equality. Okay. Justice, equity, and compassion in human relations. That's number 2. Can I get number 2 back? Thank you. Okay. There's 2 we're missing. I know you do all have your phones. Mary Kate. We did that one. Free and responsible search for truth and meaning. It's important. I like that we're saying it more than once. Anything else? This is fine. I have a list. I can't do this either, and this is my job. Be nice to each other. The goal of world community with peace, liberty, and justice for all. That's be nice to each other, right?
What number is that?
That's number 6. Thank you. Okay. Nobody knew number 3. I'm sorry. Does anybody know number 3? Okay. This is acceptance of one another and encouragement to spiritual growth in our congregations. That's number 3. Thank you all for helping me with these numbers. Okay. Are there any? Good job, team. Now, is there anybody who didn't get a chance to hold a number last time who wants to hold one? Okay, stand on up. I need 6 of you. Because we're going to do the sources next. The sources. Okay, is there anybody who hasn't done it who wants to? Okay, great. You're number 1. Number 2. Number 3. Number 4.
Oh, you got
Number
number 5.
5.
Number 5.
Uh-oh. Number 5 is a really tricky one to hold on to, okay? It keeps wanting to curl up like a spiral, but you got it.
It looks like 3.
And number 6, here you go. Okay. So in our current UUA bylaws, it says we draw our faith from 6 sources. Can anyone name any of them without Googling it? Which ones can we name? Oh,
I'm holding it.
Yes, the Jewish and Christian teachings which call us to respond to God's love by loving our neighbor as ourselves. That's number 4. Thank you. What? Sure, wisdom from the world's religions, which inspire us in our ethical and spiritual lives. I heard nature, spiritual teachings of earth-centered traditions which celebrate the sacred circle of life and instruct us to live in harmony with the rhythms of nature. So I need number 3 and number 6 back. Thank you, guys. Okay, we got a few more.
Hey, look at this.
What? Art. Art is not on the list.
Mom, if you keep it on the, if you keep 5 on the floor, it will be.
Prophetic, yes. Okay, words and deeds of prophetic people, which challenge us to confront powers and structures of evil with justice, compassion, and the transforming power of love. That's number 2, AJ. Okay. Sure. Direct experience of that transcending mystery and wonder affirmed in all cultures, which moves us to renewal of the spirit and an openness to the forces which create and uphold life. That's number 1. Okay, and we still have number 5, right? Oh, number 5, okay. Anybody? Anybody? Anne is taking a guess. What is it? Sure, let's call it that. Humanist teachings, which counsel us to heed the guidance of reason and the results of science, and warn us against idolatries of the mind and spirit. So thank you, children, for helping us see what we know. Thank you, grown-ups, for sharing what you know. And it's okay that we don't know it all. We're talking about changing some of these words anyway. And if we don't know all of them, we'll just see what happens. Okay, let's sing. Do you want to take any of these numbers? Or?
Go forth in peace in search of wisdom, with love to guide you on your way. And may the joy of life surround you wherever you may go. Go forth in peace in search of wisdom, with love to guide you on your way. And may the joy
People's people are generous people. And this shows up in so many ways. On Tuesday afternoon, I went into the church kitchen to make myself a cup of tea and saw Bob Friedel on his hands and knees scrubbing the kitchen floor because it hadn't been done in a while, he thought, and needed the work. And so many of you show up in all kinds of small and unseen ways to do the work of our church like that. So we have those moments of service. We also have the ways we support other congregations. So our beautiful slides, which we use when we sing and in other ways, we have been sharing with other congregations who haven't been projecting things for quite so long as they switch to doing it that way. Because our AV team has figured out how do you make it readable and visually interesting and not cram too many words on the page. And so we have been saving, I don't know, hundreds of hours for other congregations to have to go through the trial and error process that I know we surely did as we figured out exactly how to make our slides for songs work. So it is a good and generous thing that we do together when we share our work with others, when we do the things that are often unseen that need to be done. So this is the moment in the service where I invite you to continue to be the generous people that you are. The offering will now be received.
Please join me in giving thanks for all that sustains us. From the countless gifts we each have been given, gifts of life and love and sustenance, we bring these small portions to share in the works of love, which none of us can accomplish alone.
People's Church is a community that supports one another. One of the ways that we do that is by inviting those who wish to share the joys and sorrows and milestones of their lives during our services. So if you have a joy or sorrow or milestone, if you're on Zoom, I invite you to type it into the chat box. If you're with us in person, I invite you to come forward, say your name and speak briefly, and place a stone in our bowl of water. And you're also free to place a stone or ask for a stone without saying anything. And now I place a few more stones for the joy and the sorrow that we're holding quietly in our heart today, the joy and sorrow in our wider community and in our wider world. sources of reason and radiance, sources of courage and compassion. Keep watch with those who work or watch or weep this day. May the suffering be soothed. May the weary find rest. May the sick be tended. May the dying and those who love them find peace. May the joyous be shielded. May all of us know we are wrapped in a love that surrounds us always, a web that connects us to all that exists. Spirit of life and love, holy mystery, may we hear the voices of the past mingled with the voices of today, guiding us into the future, into our own becoming, with purpose and principle toward liberation for all people, with love as our common calling. Let us hold love at the center. May we continue to cherish the earth with humility and reverence, honoring our place in the interdependent web. Let us hold love at the center. May we celebrate all sacred beings, diverse in culture and theology, learning from one another and embracing difference in our search for truth and meaning. Let us hold love at the center. May we keep reaching for belovedness, for diverse multicultural community, for the collective thriving of all people, where all voices are heard, as we work to dismantle racism and all forms of systemic oppression. Let us hold love at the center. May we welcome transformation, seeking spiritual growth, adapting to our changing world, evolving in this living tradition, never complete, never perfect. Let us hold love at the center. May we cultivate a spirit of generosity, of gratitude and hope, freely and compassionately sharing our faith, our presence, our resources, centering connection and relationships of mutuality. Let us hold love at the center. May we always declare that every person has the right to flourish with inherent worth and dignity. May we recommit to one another with our time, wisdom, attention, and money to build and sustain fully accessible and inclusive communities. Let us hold love at the center. Let us keep love at the center, now and always. Amen.
Feel free to join me in singing from your seats.
right, hold on just a second. May I be filled with loving kindness. May I be well. May I be filled with loving kindness. May I be well. May I be peaceful and at ease. May I be whole. May you be filled with loving kindness. May you be well. May you be filled with loving kindness. May you be well. May you be peaceful and at ease. May you be whole. May we be filled with loving kindness. May we be well. May we be filled with loving kindness. May we be well. May we be peaceful and at ease. May we be whole.
Long ago, the Buddha spent a day teaching his followers. And when night fell and the moon rose, he said, "All I have taught you is fingers pointing at the moon. The truth is the moon. Follow the truth, not the teachings." One of the common interpretations of this teaching is about the limits of language. A later Buddhist teacher explains, truth has nothing to do with words. Truth can be likened to the bright moon in the sky. The finger can point to the moon's location. However, the finger cannot be the moon. To look at the moon, it's necessary to gaze beyond the finger. This feels like the right place for us to begin today as we explore proposed new draft language of Article 2 of the bylaws of the Unitarian Universalist Association, of which People's Church is a member congregation. It is so many words, so many words. And words matter, of course they do, but they matter as far as they point us to the truth. Our core wisdom that is thought and felt and known doesn't always fit neatly into words. And those of us who have been Unitarian Universalists for a while know what our faith is, even if we can't consistently remember all 7 principles or all 6 sources, as we illustrated a little while ago. So as we begin this exploration of where we could be going, let us first look at where we've been. A condensed history of fingers pointing at the moon. So Donna and I will be sharing 4 documents, 4 fingers with you. A statement of belief from the Western Unitarian Conference, which was the Unitarian group that People's Church was most closely aligned with in the late 19th century. The first Article 2 of the UUA bylaws, which was adopted when the Unitarians and Universalists consolidated in 1961. The current principles and sources, which were adopted in 1985 and have had some edits since then. and the proposed draft, which will be under discussion at the General Assembly this June. It was drafted by a group empowered by the General Assembly several years ago. And before we jump into our tour of documents, a word for those of you who are newer among us. Know that we are usually not this insidery on Sunday mornings. I don't expect you to care about bylaws, but you're welcome to if you really want to. Please feel free. But this is a good way to learn about us. We are not a tradition where truth was handed down once for all time, or that's where truth is announced periodically by a leader or a small group of leaders. We know that truth is forever making itself known, and we work together using democratic processes to name our shared understandings. And it means there's a lot of words and a lot of wordsmithing. And this idea that we are continually receiving new truth, continually growing into new understandings of how the world is and how we are called to be in it, is one of the most important things about Unitarian Universalism. So let us begin our brief history of attempts to name our truth. So from 1887, the Western Unitarian Conference, things commonly believed among us. We believe that to love the good and to live the good is the supreme thing in religion. We hold reason and conscience to be the final authorities in matters of religious belief. We honor the Bible and all inspiring scripture, old and new. We revere Jesus and all holy souls that have taught men truth and righteousness and love as prophets of religion. We believe in the growing nobility of man. We trust the old unfolding universe as beautiful, beneficent, unchanging order. To know this order is truth, to obey it is right and liberty and stronger life. We believe that good and evil inevitably carry their own recompense, no good thing being failure and no evil thing success, that heaven and hell are states of being, that no evil can befall the good man in either life or death, that all things work together for the victory of the good. We believe that we ought to join hands and work to make the good things better and the worst good, counting nothing good for self that is not good for all. We believe that this self-forgetting, loyal life awakes in man the sense of union here and now with things eternal, the sense of deathlessness, and this sense is to us as an earnest of the life to come. We worship one in all, the life whence suns and stars derive their orbits, and the soul of man its ought, the light which lighteth every man that cometh into the world, giving us power to become the sons of God, that love with which our souls commune.
Article 2, Founding Bylaws of the Unitarian Universalist Association, 1961. In accordance with these corporate purposes, the members of the Unitarian Universalist Association, dedicated to the principles of a free faith, unite in seeking, 1, to strengthen one another in a free and disciplined search for truth as the foundation of our religious fellowship. 2, to cherish and spread the universal truths taught by the great prophets and teachers of humanity in every age and tradition, immemorially summarized in the Judeo-Christian heritage as love to God and love to man. 3, to affirm defend, and promote the supreme worth of every human personality, the dignity of man, and the use of the democratic method in human relationships. 4, to implement our vision of one world by striving for a world community founded on ideals of brotherhood, justice, and peace. 5, to serve the needs of member churches and fellowships, to organize new churches and fellowships, and to extend and strengthen liberal religion. 6, to encourage cooperation with men of goodwill in every land.
Which brings us to our current bylaw, Article 2C-2.1, adopted in 1985 and with some amendments since then. We, the member congregations of the Unitarian Universalist Association, covenant to affirm and promote the inherent worth and dignity of every person, justice, equity, and compassion in human relations, acceptance of one another and encouragement to spiritual growth in our congregations, a free and responsible search for truth and meaning, the right of conscience and the use of the democratic process within our congregations and in society at large, the goal of world community with peace, liberty, and justice for all, respect for the interdependent web of all existence of which we are a part. The living tradition which we share draws from many sources, direct experience of that transcending mystery and wonder affirmed in all cultures, which moves us to a renewal of the spirit and an openness to the forces which create and uphold life. Words and deeds of prophetic people, which challenge us to confront powers and structures of evil with justice, compassion, and the transforming power of love. Wisdom from the world's religions, which inspires us in our ethical and spiritual life. Jewish and Christian teachings, which call us to respond to God's love by loving our neighbor as ourselves. Humanist teachings, which counsel us to heed the guidance of reason and the results of science and warn us against idolatries of the mind and spirit. Spiritual teachings of earth-centered traditions, which celebrate the sacred circle of life and instruct us to live in harmony with the rhythms of nature. It's a lot of words, so many words.
Proposed new Article 2, 2023. As Unitarian Universalists, we covenant congregation to congregation and through our association to support and assist one another in our ministries. We draw from our heritages of freedom, reason, hope, and courage, building on the foundation of love. Love is the power that holds us together and is at the center of our shared values. We are accountable to one another for doing the work of living our shared values through the spiritual discipline of love. Inseparable from one another, these shared values are interdependence. We honor the interdependent web of all existence. We covenant to cherish Earth and all beings by creating and nurturing relationships of care and respect. With humility and reverence, we acknowledge our place in the great web of life, and we work to repair harm and damaged relationships. Pluralism. We celebrate that we are all sacred beings, diverse in culture, experience, and theology. We covenant to learn from one another in our free and responsible search for truth and meaning. We embrace our differences and commonalities with love, curiosity, and respect. Justice. We work to be diverse, multicultural, beloved communities where all thrive. We covenant to dismantle racism and all forms of systemic oppression. We support the use of inclusive democratic processes to make decisions. Transformation. We adapt to the changing world. We covenant to collectively transform and grow spiritually and ethically. Openness to change is fundamental to our Unitarian and Universalist heritages, never complete and never perfect. Generosity. We cultivate a spirit of gratitude and hope. We covenant to freely and compassionately share our faith, presence, and resources. Our generosity connects us to one another in relationships of interdependence and mutuality. Equity. We declare that every person has the right to flourish with inherent dignity and worthiness. We covenant to use our time, wisdom, attention, and money to build and sustain fully accessible and inclusive communities. As Unitarian Universalists, we use and are inspired by sacred and secular understandings that help us to live into our values. We respect the histories, contexts, and cultures in which they were created and are currently practiced. These sources ground us and sustain us in ordinary, difficult, and joyous times. Grateful for the religious ancestries we inherit and the diversity which enriches our faith, we are called to ever deepen and expand our wisdom.
I invite you to once again join me in song from your seats.
Though I may speak with bravest fire and have the gift to all inspire and have not love, my words are vain, a sounding brass and hopeless gain. Though I may give all I possess, and striving soul my love profess, but not be given by love within, the prophet soon turns strangely thin. Come, Spirit, come, our hearts control. Our spirits long to be made whole. Let inward love guide every deed. By this we worship and are freed.
The image that's on the cover of your order of service and that Reed will put large on the screen, there we go, is one that the Article 2 Study Commission made. It's a pinwheel-ish with love at the center, with all of the values radiating outward. Having love at the center feels true for Unitarian Universalism. It reflects where we've been for a while. Here at People's Church, the bond of union that every member has signed since the 1890s ends with, we base our union upon no creed test, but upon the purpose herein expressed, and welcome all who wish to join us to help establish truth, righteousness, and love in all the world. Truth, righteousness, and love in all the world has been our extremely ambitious goal here for generations. And the vision statement that members of this church adopted almost 5 years ago begins with the phrase, aligning with the principles of the Unitarian Universalist Association while growing in love. So you all already added an extra dose of love to the principles that we previously had. And of course, there's our unofficial theme song, Daryl Iacono's People of Hope, which has the refrain, people of love, people of hope, people of change, which honestly, we would sing every Sunday, but we need to give Daryl a break every once in a while, don't we? And of course, it's not just People's Church. This is a wider phenomenon. So now I want the next image, AV team. It's also on the back of your order of service. So a minister took everything that's in all the words from our gray hymnal and took out the words like the and then put it in a word cloud art generator thing. And so the bigger the word is, the more often we sing it. And we sing love all the time, not just on Sundays when we specifically choose the songs about love, which we did today. And this is our hymnal from the 1990s. We haven't had a full-scale update since then. So we sing about love, life, one, peace, come, heart, God, a little bit, day, live, earth. And our song lyrics are so much better at sticking in our minds than our principles. So, and then our bylaw language. So next time the kids might quiz you if you can remember the songs, and I bet I'll pass with flying colors. So I love that this draft seems to be catching up in some ways with who we are. And there's portions of the draft that I don't like as much. I grieve the loss of the list of sources because that's an important touchstone for me. I love that collection of fingers pointing at the moon. We can take the image away if we want. Or it can be there, whatever. But I love how it makes the roots of our tradition and our distinctiveness clear. We name direct experience of transcending mystery and wonder. And we name humanist teachings which counsel us to heed the guidance of reason and the results of science and warn us against idolatries of the mind and spirit. So I love those phrases and use them almost every time I explain what Unitarian Universalism is. And I understand this change intellectually. I think it makes a lot of sense because when you start listing things out, specifically, you leave something out. I think every time, especially if you're trying to write something that will last for a while. And the new phrasing does away with that challenge. But I approach this possible change with some grief. So I'm doing what I do with grief, noticing it, sitting with it, seeing what it might have to teach me, and being patient with it. And there is an amendment in the works to return direct experience into that language. And depending on how that's shaped, I will likely vote for that. And many of us have pieces of the principles and sources that we would mourn if they're no longer in the UUA bylaws. But here's the thing. The words don't need to be in the bylaws to be meaningful. It's a weird thing we ask bylaws to do, honestly, to sum up our faith like this. And so even if the new draft is approved, it doesn't mean we have to stop using the words that are meaningful to us. The current language isn't being canceled or banned. You don't get marked down in the great tally sheet of Unitarian Universalist grades, which don't exist, if you use something that's, no longer the current language. And it will always be part of our tradition. There are phrases that I have been taught since my Unitarian Universalist childhood, which was shaped by the current language, that are just going to be in me because that's what things do. That's how words of wisdom work. And we get to hold on to all of that. And the bylaws continue to be fingers pointing at the moon, and we can hold on to the bits that work and discard and update the parts that don't. Is there so much that I think is good. I love all of the verbs in the new bylaws. Our current principles begin with verbs. They say, we, the member congregations of the Unitarian Universalist Association, covenant to affirm and promote. But we usually skip that part and just get to the list of 7, which is all concepts and no action. And the new proposal has so many verbs, which is fitting as children run loudly through the back. We are people who do things. We honor, we celebrate, we work, we adapt, we cultivate, we declare. This language about action is truer to Unitarian Universalism. We are not a people bound together by shared belief. We come together diverse in belief to be together, to sing together, to work together, to celebrate together, to cultivate together. We are not a people of orthodoxy, of shared belief, of one right truth. We are a people of orthopraxy, which is shared practice. I know, put that in your vocabulary list, you guys. It's a great word. So we do the practices of love and compassion, the practices of science and spirituality, the practices of equity and justice, the practices of showing up for one another and building community again and again and again, which so many of those are listed, are the verbs: cultivating, declaring, adapting, celebrating, honoring. That is who we are. So what will it mean if the change in the UUA bylaws is affirmed at the General Assembly this summer and adopted next year? It's hard to predict exactly. I've spoken to a number of people who were UU adults when the new bylaws came in 1985. Perhaps some of you might remember that. And they tell me that up until that point, the UUA bylaws from 1961 were really an afterthought. Nobody really paid attention to them. And then people were kind of surprised when these 7 principles kind of took off and became part of curricula. I see some nodding heads in the room. Yes. We're taught to children, were the things we turn to when someone says, you know what? And I imagine these new bylaws will kind of have a similar trajectory. They'll guide curricula that the UUA publishes. They would guide programming and advocacy at the national level. I would learn these new words and phrases and probably say them a lot in the pulpit, and they might begin to stick in our minds and in our hearts. And maybe over time, the new list of values, which is not that dissimilar from the current list of principles, there's a lot of shared language, would be what become what you turn to when someone asks you about your faith, or become the phrases we repeat to ourselves when we need to return to our own integrity. Love, interdependence, pluralism, justice, transformation, generosity, equity. Or maybe not, right? Maybe they'll draft it and largely forgotten until 15 years from now, when the UUA bylaws say you need to look at this part of the bylaws and revisit it again. We return to these texts every 15 years because we expect to need new words to describe what holds us together. new fingers to point at our moon. They are designed to have an expiration date, which is not often what you see in religious texts, right? We are doing things differently here. So I'm nearing the end of the sermon. And if you are thinking to yourself, this is so fascinating, and I have strong opinions, and I can't wait to offer amendments and debate word choice with a few thousand other Unitarian Universalists, I know some of you are out there. It's not my calling, but it might be yours. Then I have some great news for you. As I mentioned earlier, the bylaws, this new bylaw proposal will be debated, amended, and voted on at the Unitarian Universalist General Assembly. So that's happening June 21st to 25th. It's fully accessible online, and it's also happening in person in Pittsburgh. And there'd be some preliminary meetings beforehand because they know this is too big a document to really think through and offer amendments and do all of that in 4 days of business meetings. So People's Church can designate up to 6 church members to serve as delegates to the General Assembly. And those are the people who can participate in this conversation and vote on its outcome. So if that speaks to you, please talk to me or a member of the board. It's been several years since People's Church has sent its full contingent that we can to do this work. And we'd love to have as many people who have tolerance for large group wordsmithing projects to be in it. And who care passionately about this too. It's not only wordsmithing, but it is wordsmithing. So may we remember that we are a tradition that has for generations sought truth and love. May we know that our attempts to name truth are imperfect. Our words are fingers pointing towards the moon, gesturing at truth, but not the truth itself. And yet, may we never stop trying to name and live out our principles, our truths, our values together. May it be so. May we make it so. And amen.
I invite you all to rise and body your spirit one last time to sing our closing song together.
Love will guide us, peace has tried us, hope inside us will lead the way on the road from greed to giving. Love will guide us through the hard night. If you cannot sing like angels, if you cannot speak before thousands, you can give from deep within you. You can change the world with your love. Love will guide us, peace has tried us, hope inside us will lead the way on the road from greed to giving. Love will guide us through the hard night.
So a brief programming note, children's religious education is running for about 10 more minutes this morning. So that means grown-ups, you don't have to parent for like 10 minutes. So enjoy like talking to someone without someone jumping on your leg, or like just, the quality of attention that is possible when someone else is watching your children for a little bit longer. So as we go out, may we know that we come from generations of people who've sought truth in their own, sometimes imperfect ways, and tried to live that out in the world in their sometimes imperfect ways. And may we get to carry on that legacy in our own imperfect ways as we continue to point towards truth and live our values and our principles. Let us go in peace and go in love.